But Dylan, it was defeated you! You nearly adopted the darkness! I was born in it!
Oh, are you excommunicated back in a psychopath?
What was the Gotham?
I was a Gotham.
Alright, I'll stop now. Hi everyone, welcome to my review for The Dark Knight Rises. The Dark Knight Rises was directed by Christopher Nolan. It stars Christian Bale, Michael Caine, Morgan Freeman, Tom Hardy, Anne Hathaway, Gary Oldman, and Marion Cotillard. So The Dark Knight Rises takes place 8 years after the events of The Dark Knight. Since then, the Dent Act has been passed, and due to this act, most of all of Gotham's violent criminals have been locked up in Blackgate Prison, and Gotham's basically hasn't known this sense of peace in decades. Bruce Wayne as the Batman has not been seen since the night that he murdered Harvey Dent, as everybody now believes him to be a criminal vigilante, and they believe Dent to be a hero, even though Batman deliberately took the fall for Dent's crimes. However, all of this is soon interrupted when a new supervillain comes to town by the name of Bane. Now, Bane essentially hijacks a plane, takes it to Gotham City, and his ultimate goal is to destroy Gotham City once and for all. Because, like Ra's al Ghul, who was his mentor, he thinks it is beyond irredeemable. So he basically has rebuilt the League of Shadows, although now it's really just a gang of mercenaries doing everything they can to basically support the peace that Gotham City has had. And this, of course, calls Batman back into action, and over the course of the film, his first encounter with Bane, he loses terribly, and then basically over the second half of the film, Bruce Wayne figures out how he can rise or become the Batman once again. Now, throughout all this, Catwoman, or Selina Kyle, is also a new character who finally joins the fray into Nolan's Batman universe. And we get to see her sort of meet Bruce Wayne for the first time and build a relationship of sorts, and sort of see her character go through a few things as well. So, the thing about The Dark Knight Rises plot is that it's very exposition heavy compared to The Dark Knight and Batman Begins. It's sort of the old mantra, show don't tell. Well, The Dark Knight Rises tells us a lot more than, for say, the last two films did, where we really got to see sort of the effects that the characters had. Whereas this one, it's very much tells us, at least for the first part of the film. Now, the plot itself is still pretty good, and the storyline and characters are still gripping enough to sort of make up for it, and it definitely does have some very interesting thematic elements to it, but at the same time, there definitely are some flaws within the main plot structure of the film. As far as the filmmaking goes, in terms of just pure cinematography, this film is just as impressive as the last few. The cinematography is as gorgeous as it's ever been, if not better. Incredible real set pieces. Still minimal special effects. Nolan always goes all out with his films to make them as grounded in realism as possible, and it's no different here. Just about every scene, every action set piece is a feast for the eyes. Hans Zimmer's score is good. I don't think it's as good as The Dark Knight. I think it's a lot more atmospheric and melancholy, which works fine for this film considering it is sort of a disaster movie of sorts. You know what I mean? But it doesn't have that same emotional impact, partially because James Newton Howard wasn't brought back on for the final installment. So the acting in this movie overall is still great. Christian Bale is very comfortable in his role as both Bruce Wayne as Batman. Anne Hathaway, I want to say, is terrific as Catwoman in this film. She really does manage to sort of bring that comic book charisma of the character, but with a Nolan-esque twist to it as well, that first fits well with this version of Batman that Nolan created. Tom Hardy honestly did a great job as Bane. Even though you can't make fun of his voice, as you saw me do, he's a very intimidating and imposing villain, but he's just no match for the Joker. I feel like the biggest issue with this film in general is that it tried to follow in the footsteps of The Dark Knight. And it's just a really tough act to follow. The supporting cast is great. Joseph Gordon-Levitt also joins the cast and plays Robin John Blake. You didn't hear that from me. Well, you kind of did. But basically he's a beat cop who, over the course of the film, is sort of kind of the closest thing that Bruce Wayne or Batman has ever had to a pupil, which we don't really get to see a whole lot of that, but it would have been nice if the script had been written to actually let us see more of that. But still, Levitt does a great job in the role. Morgan Freeman, Michael Caine, Gary Oldman, all great as always. No real issues with the acting in this film. So, at the end of the day, I do actually like The Dark Knight Rises. I actually haven't seen it in a couple of years, and I know this is a very polarizing installment, but at the end of the day, I do think it is a pretty good, fun movie, and definitely a worthy conclusion to Nolan's trilogy, but it just can't hold a candle to The Dark Knight. It's not the masterpiece that film was, or even Batman Begins for that matter. Like, it definitely does have some very serious faults with some of its just plot points and progression. It definitely has certain plot holes, but I definitely don't think it's a terrible movie. I think that overall the characters, the overall actual story, once they actually get into it, and some of the thematic elements definitely make up for its shortcomings. And at the end of the day, it's still much better than typical action movie fare, and compared to most third installments in superhero movies, such as Spider-Man 3, it's a lot better. I'd say, like, the difference in quality between this film and Spider-Man 3 is this, but the difference in quality between The Dark Knight Rises and The Dark Knight is this. So that sort of gives you an idea of what I think of this movie. I like it. I don't love it, but I still definitely enjoyed it a lot. I am more than happy to give The Dark Knight Rises a 4 smiley faces out of 5. Thank you for watching my latest review. Look forward to Batman vs. Superman sometime in this next coming week. And until next time...
I'm here to fulfill Adam West's destiny!
Or something like that.